Oh my gosh, I've got a cat on my lap, I've got a dog trying to come up on my lap, there's another dog down here. It's a madhouse right now. You wouldn't really think that animals would be so attracted to the Antichrist, and yet here they are. Oh my gosh, look, another one right now. This is Doug the dog, and this is Cece the dog. Hello. Oh no, Doug, leave the kitty alone. Anyway, if you didn't catch me the first time, yes, I'm the Antichrist, Satan's favorite daughter, etc., etc. Right now I'm currently staying with some friends in Nottingham, England, and they run a doggy daycare here. So we see lots of furry little friends. There's a kitty up here, be careful. I told you, common misconception, animals do like satanic beings. Anyway, today I'm here on my second channel. Maybe you know my main channel, Haunted Hippie. That's where I talk about horror movies. Over here is where I talk about physical media and where I post my travel content. Okay, bye Cece. Today we have another travel video. I went to Venice a couple of weeks ago. I went with my boyfriend, we did all the touristy things, we saw some spooky sights. I'm just here to document my adventures, but maybe I will have a few good tips for you if you're a fellow traveler. If you're into that kind of thing, then definitely click subscribe, click the like button and the notification bell so you never miss the next video. Without further ado, I would like to welcome you to Venice. actually day 1 and day 2 because we got there on day 1 a little bit later in the evening. You just saw a little bit of footage of the taxi ride, and then we got a really, really good dinner. I wasn't expecting that much of that place. Like, it's so hit or miss in really touristy places in Italy, whether the food is gonna be super average or really delicious, because it is Italy. So even if you're at like kind of a mid-tier place, like it doesn't look super decorative or whatever, sometimes it'll randomly just have like the best pizza you've ever had in your entire life. Even though in Venice, they're not allowed to have the wood-burning ovens, so it's not the real pizza, whatever. That first place was delicious, and like you saw in the video, probably, it was, I think, the best Aperol Spritz I've ever had in my entire life. The ratio was just absolutely perfect. And yes, we did have Aperol Spritz every single day we were there. You saw that on day 2 as well. Day 2, we didn't have any tours or anything booked, so we just did a lot of exploring. There's not too much to tell. We didn't go into the grand St. Marco's Basilica or anything. We just stumbled into a really spooky looking church, and of course it had all the really creepy imagery of the dead Jesuses in the coffins and stuff. Honestly, I live for that, but it is very off-putting. And yes, yet again, for my returning subscribers, I did not burst into flames when I went into the churches in Venice. Who would have thought? We also stumbled upon this really cool sculpture garden. There was a lot of modern art in there, which isn't usually my thing, but the statue of the 2 naked people holding each other, oh, I love that one. Then before dinner, we also did a little gondola ride, and that was lovely. The gondola rides, I feel like it's just something to do so you can say you've done it, because at least from the location that we went on, we only went on one of the major waterways and saw really good sights. The rest of it was kind of like back alley waterways and just was like kind of whatever. The ambiance wasn't great. And it's very expensive, okay? It's kind of a tourist trapped little thing that you have to do when you're in Venice. But now we can say we've done it, you know. Next time I think that we'll just do it out of a different little port or something, like see a different area of the city. Right, Doug? Yeah, right. Yeah, you get it. Oh, big stretch. Yes, baby. Things got a little bit more exciting on the second day when we went to see the palace dungeons. So are you ready for day 3 in Venice? Let's get it. I will be right back. yes, it's a little old me again. Was that footage of the old prison cells not super cool? I have some more that I want to show you here because I just didn't think that it looked very nice, like with the montage and everything. But these were the old prison cells. During the Doge Palace tour, we got to learn the whole story of Casanova and allegedly how he broke out of the prison there. Our tour guide was very, very skeptical. She doesn't really believe all the elements of the story, but we did get to go to the locations that actually allegedly are part of the Casanova story. I also never knew anything about Casanova before. I feel like I really want to read his books now because he has one that she told us. It documents his hookups with like 128 people or something like that. And then the other one is how he broke out of the Doge Palace prison. I also never knew that he was almost 7 feet tall. What a freak. The other most interesting thing about the Doge Palace tour that we did, we got some sort of like the dungeon extension add-on or something. Scott booked it for us, bless him. He knew that I would want to like, you know, get into all the spooky stuff. The other most interesting part of that tour, I think, was when we went into the old torture chambers. They were really, really basic. They didn't have a lot of shenaniganery with torturing people in the Doge Palace back in the day. They just would tie people up by this rope by their wrists, and then I guess by pulling the rope or something, it would end up breaking their wrists and then like dislocating their shoulders and stuff. And that was about all they needed to do, because as soon as you don't have use of your arms, you basically weren't able to work back in like, you know, the 1400s or what have you. It was also so interesting that the quote dungeons were on the bottom floor of the palace, because initially I thought, oh, that's terrible ambiance. Like, why would people walking into the palace want that to be the first thing that they saw? Because the judges and like the council members and all of that lived above the prisoners. First of all, it's practical because obviously you can't like build into the earth in Venice, because they essentially built that entire city on mud and now it all stands on petrified wood. But the other reason why they kept them there in the palace is because it was a show of power. The first thing that you saw, heard, and smelled was all of the prisoners on the bottom level when you walked into the palace. So crazy flex, but okay. And then of course all the gorgeous artwork all over the ceiling. But I think that my favorite thing that happened on that tour was that Scott got a nosebleed. We both had awful allergies on that trip. Like, oh my god, it was insane. And I asked our food tour guide, we'll get to that later, I was like, I don't know why my allergies are so bad because I don't see a lot of vegetation here. She told us it's actually because there are a lot of hidden gardens in Venice, so that's cool. So yeah, Scott got a nosebleed and we didn't have anything except for one of my panty liners for him to hold to his face. I don't think I can even show the picture because it's kind of graphic, but we have pictures of him getting a nosebleed and holding up the panty liner, so great memories. I guess I can get to the food tour now though. Oh my gosh. I will leave the Airbnb experiences information here, but I think that you can book this tour through multiple different companies. This does not come with alcohol, and so we got 2 little mini bottles of wine to keep in my purse so that we'd be prepared. And our tour guide, Vanessa, she was obsessed with us. Like, she loved us so much for doing that. She was like, they're prepared, they're my people. That's not really what she sounded like. I can't do an Italian accent. Those first pastries that we tried, I wish that I could remember what they were called. At least I did get footage of the names of a few of the places that we went, because oh my god, those pastries were some of the best that I ever had in my entire life. Highly, highly recommend. Also in the next place, we got a bunch of different types of cicchetti, as you saw. It is so hard to describe how delicious those were. They basically were like adult Uncrustables. That's what they were, but some of them had like crab in them or ham, different types of cheese. They were so good. Highly recommend booking a street food tour because you will get to go to all the local places that actually have really amazing food, as opposed to just seeing like all of the surface level, like touristy type stuff. Because the difference between like authentic Italian cuisine and the tourist trap type places, you can tell. That was probably my favorite tour that we did the entire time that we were in Italy together. No regrets. I think that walking food tours are some of the best things that you can do while you're abroad. But that ended the day for us, so I think that we should head on to the very last day of the trip, day 4. Things got a little bit spookier as we went to the Murano cemetery. So stay tuned, enjoy the footage, I'll be right back. up there?
It's so tall.
How did they do it? How'd they get up there?
Did you show them what it looks like?
I sure did. Yes, that was our trip to Venice. Magical it was. Actually, it's kind of way too touristy for me personally. I'm so glad we didn't go in summer when it would have been even worse. I'm very glad I went. I don't know when I would ever go back to Venice, to be honest. It's like my parents' favorite city in the world, so I guess that they're totally fine being around tourists, bless them. A little bit too much for me, but everything we did was definitely worth doing. As you saw, we also went into the Grand San Marcos Basilica. I don't know if that's what it's called, but it's in St. Marcos Square, so I think, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. That was insane. Don't know how they got up there, but I guess I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. I'm just doing this in reverse. In the beginning of that day, we went over to Murano, which is where they make the authentic Italian blown glass. It was really cool. If you just wander around, then you'll probably find like one of their workshops, and some of them you can literally just walk into and watch them blow glass. There was so much stuff that was so cool. I wanted to take it home so badly, but it was either way too expensive. Actually, everything was way too expensive, or it was just so delicate looking. I don't know how anyone would get that home unless they like fully wrapped it in foam and then just FedExed it back to the States. Those spiders, oh, I wanted one of those spiders so bad. But we had lunch by the sea. I'll put the name of the restaurant on screen because I do not remember. I'm sorry. Scott handled the food situations, and so I never really knew the names of the places that we went to, but I would definitely get a reservation for that place. I don't really know how we got in. I think we got there before like the lunch rush maybe, because all the tables had little reserved plaques on them, so definitely make a reservation there. The food was delicious. Oh, that pasta plate that I got, can recommend 10 out of 10. Then later in the day, of course, we finally got into the basilica, and it's definitely worth it to pay extra to see the view from the top of the roof. There's a mini museum, and then you get to see the original statues of the horses that they had out front. The ones that they have outside now are actually replicas. So we got some pictures up there on the roof, and that was just like a really good way to close out the trip, I think, because we kind of started our trip going to the square, and then we sort of ended it there too. Can definitely recommend also hitting up the little cemetery on your way back to Venice if you go out to Murano. I definitely wish we had more time to wander around there because all of the statues and the headstones were so fascinating. We found one that obviously belonged to some kind of painter. A lot of them looked very gothic. I would have loved to just stay there and look at all the headstones all day long. Also, I don't know who left that ladder there. I don't know if tourists were allowed to go up it, but we decided to ask for forgiveness instead of permission, but it was totally fine. It didn't seem like anybody that worked there was actually there, and there were hardly any other tourists. So yeah, spooky sights, fun times. We had 4 days there, and that felt pretty good to me. I was a little bit tired of all the tourists being there. We did all the super touristy things. We did a couple of things that were maybe a little bit off the beaten path. Like we went to one of the most famous bookstores, I think, in the world. You saw that. That was on day one. I forgot to talk about that. Would have loved to get a book there maybe, but I'm pretty sure they were all in Italian. They had some giallos and thrillers, like this giant stack of them. Oh, what I wouldn't give to speak Italian. The trip might have started off a little bit rocky because we booked tickets for the fast train, and then our first train out of Verona was late getting to Milan, so of course we missed our second train, and then they just stuck us on this really shitty train that was totally packed. We didn't even get to sit by a window or anything, so Scott didn't have the lovely like European railway train experience. It was fine though. We got there okay, and we had a really nice, very, very central Airbnb. Got the 3-day water taxi tickets. That was definitely worth it. it because then we got to explore all the way out to Murano. Could have gone to Murano too, but we didn't end up having time for that. That's okay. That's like where they make like the famous lace and all of that. We really just kind of did all the basic things. My next vlog, which will be out probably in 2 weeks because I like to stagger the physical media videos with the travel videos. I went to Turin, Italy, and I think that that is the hidden gem of northern Italy. So I'll have a lot more tips and tricks for you to go to Turin. This was Venice. Like, I'm not gonna act like I invented going to Venice. I don't have any crazy stories about it. If you go there, then it's gonna be very apparent like what the main things to do are. One thing that I'm very, very sad we didn't do, there was some sort of like Ghosts and Ghouls of Venice nighttime tour that I wanted to do so bad. But honestly, I think I kind of just forgot about it by the time we got there. Like, we should have booked that ahead of time for sure. And the sun is trying to break through these English clouds right now, so I'm getting a little bit washed out. That feels like the perfect time to end this video since I don't have any grander stories to tell. Like I said, for the most part, this is a dedicated physical media channel. It's just also my second channel, so it's where I'm gonna post all my travel videos and stuff too. But there are separate playlists if you're only interested in one or the other. I also have my main channel, Haunted Hippie, where I talk about horror movies. I have my Patreon where you get weekly bonus content. You can also check out the rest of my social media. Everything you need is listed down below, but more than anything, I just hope that you enjoyed this video and that I catch you in the next one. Bye!